So in terms of why we are reoccupying on Saturday, the truth is things are much as they were in the fall. In the last 6 months, the need for a more equitable and just society hasn't disappeared. Just as it was 6 months ago, people are still being foreclosed upon and thrown out of their homes when they can in fact make payments and the bank is unwilling to negotiate. Just as 6 months ago, working people are still not respected in the workplace. Just as 6 months ago, communities of color are underserved by our government and our economic system. And just as 6 months ago, we're fed up of it. And it's time for a change. In terms of what we've seen in the last year, we've seen a lot of times the government and police using extreme force to suppress Occupy protests, and we're seeing that here too. They're gearing up to do the exact same, preemptively citing park hours as a way to infringe upon our free speech rights. We know that the right to free assembly does not end at midnight, and we plan on exercising those free speech rights just as we would anywhere else. We're talking about public parks. They should be for people to use. And so effectively, that's why we're planning on doing what we're doing. Now, we don't presume to speak for the entire movement, obviously, and we don't presume to have specific answers to these problems or say that one way is right or another is wrong. What we do plan on doing is creating communities that can fight back and find a solution and work together. This is not a movement that is about a specific issue. A lot of people have criticized Occupy protests for this. We actually think it's a strength, because in reality what this is about, at least to me, is it's about communities of people coming together and realizing that by standing together and standing up, we can fight back and make our society a more just one. And so that's exactly what we plan on doing, starting on April 7th at noon. And now Sam over here is going to speak a little bit more about what that's going to look like and the logistics of April 7th here. All right. Careful. Sure.
Starting on April 7th at noon, we will be occupying 2 parks, Peavey Plaza and Loring Park. We're going to be calling for people to bring everything they need to stay overnight, be prepared for whatever happens. We'll be having music and festivities and food to celebrate the 6-month anniversary of Occupy Minnesota. And later in the afternoon, we'll be protesting Richard Davis and U.S. Bank for their unreasonable practice of non-negotiations with homeowners facing foreclosure, even while they are able to make payments on those mortgages. The ordinance they've been citing is stating from midnight until 6 a.m. the park will be closed, but they're not.
And that's only Loring Park.
Yes, that's Loring Park. There hasn't been any talk of Peavey Plaza being closed. Also, there's an ordinance on the books stating that First Amendment activities will be allowed to carry on, and we don't believe that the First Amendment has any time constraints or curfews. And we will be occupying peacefully, of course, so we feel that there's no need for them to preemptively try and boot us out. We feel that having 2 sites further downtown will offer up a lot of benefits. Ideally, we plan to occupy more than just 2 places in the spring and summer, and this offers a great launch-off point. We got contacted very recently, a few days ago in fact, from the Parks Board, trying to tell us that they're trying to meet with us to discuss what's going to happen in the spring, list off some rules that they wanted us to follow, and we feel that exercising our constitutional rights peacefully, we don't have to have public meetings for the people to petition the government for redress of grievances and assemble on public spaces that the taxpayers pay for. I don't know what the police in the city are thinking.
Sure. I mean, to answer that, obviously it's something that we're hoping doesn't happen. Again, our plan is to do as we did in the fall, have a lovely, peaceful community set up at these parks. We plan on being very respectful to the space and to the neighborhood. And we don't see any problems being caused. I think the only way that there would be issues is if the city decides to crack down. And the only way there's nothing that I can foresee based off of what happened in the fall. It was again a very peaceful protest, and one that had really no big legal issues. It was just that they wanted us out, and so obviously it's something we're not going to rule out.
And if I can.
Yeah.
Also, it's a shame in this society that people trying to exact their rights that have been so-called unalienable rights by the Founding Fathers, they're facing protests, or they're facing arrests for protesting for change, while the people that have trashed this economy are walking free. And they have committed crimes much larger than simply resisting arrest.
We have not sought any endorsement from any politicians. This is not about liking one politician or another. Obviously there will be politicians who support us more than others, but fundamentally, there's a problem with our political system. It's not representing the people well, and so we're hoping to change things so that it can do that more, instead of just, basically gathering a blessing from a specific politician. We know that the mayor's office is aware of what we're doing, but we haven't been reaching out for any specific endorsements or any specific promises. It's not really our priority. But in terms of asking how it would affect the anti-foreclosure work that's been going on, and I've been fairly involved in that as well, I see this as being really a great way to build towards that movement, the anti-foreclosure aspect of Occupy, in the same way that I see the anti-foreclosure aspects of Occupy building towards the other aspects. I think that they will bring people out, bring more people out who are willing to work to make sure that people can stay in their homes.
We'll be setting up different drop points, and obviously we have donation links online. We can give you those links later. Basically, the biggest way that anybody can support the movement in their city is just to come down and make your voice heard. It's an extremely democratic process, and we're going to need a lot of input if we're going to affect change in the way that we'd like to. So,
as of right now, we're hoping for numbers in a few hundred, effectively. At the beginning, it's probably not going to be the huge numbers that we saw in the fall, but what we foresee happening is, unlike in the fall, when it was very clear that in about a month after Occupy Minneapolis started, that it would be very uncomfortable to be outside. There's no real short-term expiration date on this protest, and so hopefully we'll be able to set up camp, and then basically throughout the spring and summer, people can come down and we can build from there. Any person who's tired of accepting that our society is structured in a way where the very wealthy can, pull all the strings, while working people get no representation and are left out of the process. And to me, that applies to almost everyone. You could even say 99%. So we're currently working towards getting a list of different events that are happening in both Loring and Peavey, specifically to address this. And what we're hoping to do is reach out to those groups that are hoping to use the space and be able to engage with them and figure out ways that we can work together. I don't see it being a problem. I think what will wind up happening, especially with Pride, Loring is a very, very large space. And I think that what will happen is when Pride weekend comes, we'll probably wind up condensing our activities to a corner that it won't interfere. We want to make sure that we're good neighbors to all the other groups and events that are taking place in these parks. Again, just my personal view of it is, of course, they have a right to use the park just as we do. And so we should have no problems working together. That's the hope.